When she had finished, she began radiating pure relief and elation onto me, which downright entrained me, albeit I was severely overwhelmed. The thought to finally see first results caused that above all. To finally enter a new world. The chapter of life I so much longed for to witness. Not only I, but we were on the best way to achieve that. Only with the last remaining questions, like when and where. And of course, the matter regarding payment, as I quite appreciated the invitation, but also wanted to give something in return. After all, there were more questions than I thought at first, and to discover the belonging answers, I started asking, also recalling that throughout the following weeks several exams would take place. Exams I better not miss, above all not without excuse, because then they were rated with 0 points. As a result, I approached for the most part relieved, but also a little bit constrained. That's indeed great news, but to be honest with you, I'm still searching for a solution as to how I'm supposed to handle my appointments over the next weeks. The tests. This apprehension represented the link to another question and the answer to it, perhaps the remedy. Where would it be in the first place? She presented herself also a bit occupied with the by me mentioned issue, which was expressed by her seemingly hesitating and musing. Ultimately, she responded a bit reluctantly. Iceland. It is not really near this place, which entails that you likely cannot alternate between the locations if you were thinking about that. As a result, we both were ruminating about what to do, which filled the room with hush. The fact regarding when fell under the table, as it was only a tiny fact alongside the bigger obstructions. But finally, without coming up with an answer, neither Chloe nor I did, we heard the voice of her mom echoing to us. In unison, we decided there would be quite the likelihood for an idea when we involved 4 minds instead of only 2, even though those 2 already found great remedies. Anyway, we nodded toward each other and walked into the direction where the voice originated from. It led us into the room we talked recently, where we experienced huge progress on every level. And since we both decided that it stayed that way, it was worth a try consulting them. So it came that right after I greeted them by exclaiming their prenames, I outlined the problem we were facing. For the sake of effectiveness, I elucidated beforehand what I already knew from Chloe, to avoid redundancy. When I had finished speaking, I observed the same reaction as Chloe and I showed when contemplating. They just sat there and looked at the table, while I gazed at Chloe while holding my thumbs inside my hand, which resembled the silent variant of the idiom touch wood. However, after several minutes, we witnessed Jon first looking at Mary, and then alternating between Chloe and me, and then coming to first words. Yeah, Aaron, intricate indeed, especially since we have another school system here in this district. You know, the people here are quite proud of it and describe it as superior, what it really is somehow, to be honest. I mean, you have first-hand evidence that your way of school comprises going there every day, being guided by teachers and doing the obligatory homework. Well, here it is different. It works like a university only for children. It is up to you whether you go there and listen to the teachers. There is no such thing as compulsory school education here. The only occasion you have to attend to are the exams in each subject, which are taking place intermittently. The date when they occur is agreed upon by student and teacher alike. They arrange an appointment within the scope of the school year, so to say. As long as you pass them, you can do whatever you want, provided that you are able to work by your own efforts. It is hard indeed, but you also have the most freedom. Moreover, you learn how to be independent at a very early stage to prepare you for what is to come. And this is also a huge aberration. People in Sector 1 are becoming leaders, those in Sector 2 followers, and the ones in Sector 3 slaves. I'm not saying that's how it should be done, it merely is how it is done right now. But politics and the school system are not important right now. I only wanted to prove what you already know. The iniquitous sector system which causes first of all problems. Indignantly, I leaned myself back against the chair as a result. I already knew how foreign people were from different sectors, but now that I knew the origin of all that, the roots of all this evil, so to speak, I was downright scandalized. For everyone, school is the dictator as regards further life opportunities, either creating or destroying them. But what happens when your true potential is being concealed through it? When you think you have the choice, but truthfully haven't? What I mean, we in Sector 2 think we have all the power to decide over our future, the jobs we're going to exert, the lives we will live. But in truth, it is mainly confined through political choices affecting the way schools work. As I know now, we are as a matter of fact becoming representatives for our provenances with only an excerpt of opportunities. The lower your native societal status, the less chances you have. But as it is something innate, you're not really capable of changing it. I mean, after all, you cannot decide which family you're born into. So lastly, our inheritance is set equal with destiny, because no one specifies those terms. Destiny is dynamic, while inheritance is permanent. The conservative way of education in this regard only acts as catalyst for consolidating that. We are being educated to become what we are, not who we are. But anyway, it incensed me only for some moments, as I shifted my focus once again on the important matters, namely our difficult situation and the corresponding advice of Jon. But the people at your school are not the liable ones, at least not the only ones. They're solely doing their job and acting as puppets on a string out of fear as regards loss of existence or simply out of ignorance. Nevertheless, I suggest you speak with them, as speaking still resolves the one or the other matter, especially when you speak to the inner core of them, even when it's enveloped by cold walls of steel. A light, uplifting feeling overcame me as I contemplated his sentence. After all, I was essential for things turning to good account, as this last obstacle lied in my responsibility, so to say. And therefore I had to get active and do something about it. So what would be more promising than speaking actively with the teachers and the principal of my school? It would undoubtedly entail a result. Either they showed comprehension and granted me a slight margin for everything, or not, and hence had to bury Iceland and Chloe alike. That's about it. Those two options remained amidst an intricate situation requiring an immediate way to go. Because of that, I thanked him kindly for his help and decided to consult the headmaster of my school as proposed. For the first rather unpleasant topic was thereby finished, we came to a more agreeable one, namely the destination of the journey itself and how it came that they kind of impetuously booked the trip. In this regard, her mother Mary interrupted the silence. Aaron, you surely wonder as to how this resolve could happen so rapidly, don't you? Of course, the according question was at all times present, albeit I was way too occupied with finding solutions to the initial issue. Nevertheless, it was urging what catalyzed this conversion of theirs. Although Chloe gave me some hints when she adumbrated that we were the reason, I wanted to additionally hearken to their arguments. Therefore, I affirmed her question by nodding. What our life looked like before is probably not a mystery anymore, as Jon as well as Chloe probably told you some aspects of earlier. The two parents you see sitting in front of you are not by any means comparable with the former versions of Jon and Mary. When I'm bloodily honest with you, then I have to confess that you wouldn't be sitting here if we were still like earlier. The sector story, the quid pro quo principle, as you find it in services and fundamentally within economy. This for that. You give something and receive something in return. Typical bargain. And this would also have referred to the relationship between the two of you. In our old way of thinking, we wouldn't have seen this quid pro quo principle applied to your relationship. She could give you something, but you couldn't give something back. You would have tried to equalize the given luxury with something she already had. Precisely according to the saying, what things do people have in Sector 2, what we in Sector 1 do not already own? But before you say anything, this is where you proved me, us, utterly wrong. While orientating toward materialism, this may be correct, but what we know now, what you helped us realize is that there are things far beyond money and possession, since money can buy many things, but the truly important ones are priceless. When we saw you for the first time, Chloe had already done her work, when she told us you had moved here from another area, with the emphasis on the fact, according to which you were from a similar society as we. We were so overwhelmed by the situation itself that we believed and didn't question her, even though you obviously didn't show that glamorous appearance, which is characteristic for that layer of existence. Long story short, however, what really astonished me, even when she revoked her statement from back then recently and told us who you really were, we still evaluated you as a friend. And that, although we've seen even our own daughter sometimes as a foreign object, when she didn't want to behave according to her status. She can tell you what that means later, but fact is, there exists something highly contagious that acts independently from status or hierarchy, and yet is imbued with the potential to change worlds. Aaron, you showed us what love is. You and of course Chloe are the occasion for this journey we are venturing. Love is what it is, and definitely not what filled our lives back then. After all, we do not live to work, we work to live. And as a consequence we decided that we have worked enough over the past years, and now the time has come to refurbish what really matters. Our relationship with each other, and now also refining the one with you. This is the reason why we want you to travel with us, and I really hope you come to terms with the responsible ones, even though it will likely be a makeshift solution. You need to know, namely, that our flight departs on Tuesday, which imprints all potential onto Monday. The fact we have forgotten about your provenance and therefore your different school pattern proves how overrated preconceptions really are when we don't have such silly paradigms misleading us and jeopardizing the otherwise usual harmony. So ultimately I implore that you acquaint us with a happy end. That's what I have to say to the situation. Well then, Jon, if you have nothing left to say or one of you two, I would advise to spend some time together.